Hello, back this week, and I have a lot of things to talk about on my shows, but I'm trying to be briefer than I was last week. It was 35 minutes of me talking, and I want to be a little bit briefer because I had 7 different shows that went on this week. 7, yes, and that's not including the 3 that are not on at the moment, which is the following: Hannibal and Under the Dome. None of which will start up until next year, 2014. The ones that are going on right now have been very interesting. There's been a lot of stuff going on them. And I want to take a brief moment to talk about each one of them. And if they need any further detail, I'll provide it. But I think that I can try and just be as contrite as I possibly can, because there was a lot. Now, I know the last time I was talking, did a review, last couple of times actually, I specifically said I was going to avoid talking about NCIS because of the whole Ziva thing. Now that I've had a few weeks to get somewhat used to it and sort of mourn the loss, sort of like Tony is doing, I can assess the last episode, which I thought had a little bit of an interesting thing going on in it with Tony, because it focused on him. And for Tony, it's probably harder than it is for everybody else in the group to deal with her loss because of the emotional involvement in the way the two of them left it off. I'm going to go back briefly and talk about that for a second, because those scenes were ridiculously heartbreaking for me to see this, because if you watch this show, you know that Tony was a major commitment phobe. He couldn't deal with it. Didn't spend much time with women. He had a few relationships here that lasted maybe a year, but they never really materialized. Jean was not even like a relationship that even counted in the sense, because it was all built on a lie. But with Ziva, she was like the longest relationship that he'd ever had with a woman. And 8 years is a long time. And they may not have been sort of romantically involved, but they were off and on, sort of, in that sense. They always seemed to come back to each other. Ziva had all kinds of issues of her own, and it took them a long time to really understand the nature of their relationship in a way that you could appreciate. Tony was the one that found her in Israel. I'm not going to go back into the whole backstory because it would take another half an hour. But let's just say that they had some scenes together that were emotional, that were heartbreaking in many ways. Especially in the garden, when he tells her that he just wants her to come home with him. Tells her that he wants to change with her. And she gets emotional in her own way. And he tells her that, in the most heartbreaking line I've ever heard in my life, saying that he's fighting for her. This is Tony. This is a commitment freak, phobe, doesn't want to be involved, would rather not. He would fight for Ziva. He fought for her for so long. He pulled her away so many times, pulled her back so many times. Tried to keep her with him and couldn't do it in the end. She made the decision to stay, and he went home. And in this episode, it's clear that he's regretting it. And he's regretting letting her let him leave. He has a scene with Gibbs in which he says that it's like no one wants to say her name around him. No one wants to talk about her. It's like she's dead. And it's the reason for his insomnia in this episode is because of Ziva. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees her every time. He loves her. And a feeling like that doesn't go away, and I'm very glad that NCIS is not going to just sort of push her under the rug like they've done with other characters. She is leaving a lasting impression and a lasting impact, especially on Tony. The reason the others don't want to talk about her around him is because they know this. They understand that he was closer to her than anyone else. And maybe on some level know that it was deeper than just a professional relationship, that it was an emotional relationship, and even a physical relationship. It was tragic, but it also, the way that they leave this and the way they're doing this leads me to believe they want to get Cote de Palo back on this show sooner or later. And I'm hoping that's the case, because it was, it's just, it breaks my heart. But anyway, I can't stay on it too long. It was good. I'm going to stop there. I don't want to keep going on this and beating a dead horse into the ground, because it was good. It was really good. Criminal Minds had a sort of flashback to when Hotch lost his wife to the Boston Reaper, played by C. Thomas Howell. It's a great, devilish detail. Wonderful. Best of the worst serial killers they've ever had on that show. And his injuries caused from that had a complication that just happened from the stab wounds that he received from the Reaper, and he had to be operated on. And during the time while the rest of the team was working on a child abduction case, he is having visions of his wife and the Reaper, and it's sort of like a nice way of letting go of her finally and moving on with his new girlfriend and his son. It was really nice. It was nice to see Haley again, and it was awesome to see Thomas Howell, who just evil personification. I mean, he did an episode of Torchwood, and he was ridiculous on that too. Another show I hope is coming back someday, because that John Barrowman and Eve Miles are just ridiculous on that show. But anyway, that was really good. American Horror Story Coven it's messed up. There's messed up shit going on in this show, and it's really, and probably one of the most messed up things that it's done so far involves Evan Peters' character, and I'm having so much trouble with names lately. Like, I just can't remember people's names. I can't remember what his character's name is, but Zoe gets him from the witch girl there, Mary, played by the lovely Lily Bab, who's awesome, and brings him to her mother, his mother, who thinks with good reason that he's dead because he was dismembered in a bus crash, but this is Coven, and you can bring people back, and they basically put him back together, and it's a whole complicated story. But she brings him back to his mother, played by Mare Winningham. And this woman, I've seen Mare on another show. I remember Mare from back when she was on St. Elmo's Fire in the movie. And she's like playing these weird people. She was in Under the Dome this year as a nutball, and she's in this one as his mother. And this woman, I thought there was something iffy about her from the start, but she turns out to be really, really messed up. She did something fucked up. She did a lot of fucked up things, I should say. I'm trying to put this as delicately as possible, but I can't. There's just no way to do it. She was basically raping her own son. It was disgusting. We don't see her actually doing it, but we see her getting prepared to do it on a few occasions when he was back. Finally, he just wakes up from this catatonic phase that he is in and just beats the crap out of her, bashes her head in, kills her. Most justified murder I've ever seen on television. Except for maybe Hotch killing the Reaper. And, yeah, it's disturbing. I just can't believe any parent would do that to their child. father or mother or whatever. That's your child. That's messed up. It's disgusting. And it is another disturbing element that occurs on this show. Which makes it good, but it's disturbing. Okay. And on this show as well, Jessica Lange's character, Fiona, decides she's going to lose her power. Decides to find a way to keep it. Because she is a supreme witch and she can't lose it. Unless a new supreme comes along, and it's Madison, played by Emma Roberts. And Fiona kills Madison to keep her power. It's messed up. Like I said, very messed up. This entire show is just messed up. And I have a hard time putting it into words exactly how messed up it was, except to tell you about the mother and father, mother and son incestuous thing going on, which is just beyond disturbing. Okay. It was weird. But it's good. It's really good. American Horror Story is really good if you like messed up shit. It's a good show. Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, which was on Thursday night, we learned a lot more about the Knave of Hearts, whose real name, it seems, is Will Scarlet. Yes, that Will Scarlet. Robin Hood's Will Scarlet. Which means we saw our Robin Hood from Once Upon a Time on this one. And we learned a lot about Will. We learned more about his willingness to do whatever he can for his love, Anastasia. Anastasia. The big reveal on Anastasia at the end of the episode is making me even more intrigued by the moment. Anastasia is our lovely, devious, delicious Queen of Hearts, the Red Queen. That is his Anastasia. I'm sitting here going, how did this happen? I want to know. I'm latching on to this show, and it's scary that I'm latched on to one more. I've got so many going on. I'm still not done yet, by the way. It's good. It's got this crazy weird color vibe going on with it that's just nuts. Wonderland is always nuts. But like I said, great reveal. Makes me want to keep watching. I like it when shows do this one. Right into the November sweeps. This one's doing it. Grimm premiered Friday. I just watched it tonight. Zombie Nick. Well, zombie is kind of a loose term. It's like undead. There's this guy who, it's a spell that is like almost like a Lazarus thing where he can give it to you and you die or whatever, and you wake up and you're this angry zombie that's like killing people. You don't eat them like they do in Walking Dead, but you like just knock people around and stuff. And Nick's got the red eyes and the super strength, and he's just nuts in this episode. Nick. I'm sorry, it's late. David Grindle, who plays Nick Burkhart in this show, is very good looking, I might add. I like him a lot. I like this show a lot. And if you've never seen Grimm, it's kind of hard to explain it in a way that makes sense. It's sort of about these old-time fairy tale characters like the Big Bad Wolf and things like that being actual people who can just change their faces, and they're like an offshoot of human evolution. And only certain people can see them, and in this case it's people called Grimms, the ones who wrote Grimm fairy tales. Nick is a Grimm. And Grimms are almost like policemen to these people. They take care of it, they hunt down the bad ones. And Nick's a Grimm. Grimm is a cool show because it's it can be tongue-in-cheek sometimes, which is really cool, especially with Monroe, who's a flute bod, which is basically a big bad wolf. And it's got a lot of the primary colors in it, very bright colors. You know, kind of like Once Upon a Time, only I say a little more red and orange, and you know, just very, very primary. You know, there's not a lot of variation in them. It's got a lot of good characters in it. Like I mentioned Monroe, I mentioned Rosalie, played by the lovely Bree Turner, who I love very much, and Juliet, Nick's girlfriend, and Hank Griffin, his partner, who just sort of got into all this himself, just realized what was going on. It's a good show. It's hard to explain the plot line, but the type of zombie that Nick is in this show, right now, it's not the type that, you know, you can't cure it. You can't cure this zombie, which is it's pretty cool too. I'm interested to see what's going to happen this season. It's the third season. It was kind of one of the shows that sort of revitalized NBC, sort of saved them, brought them back from the dead a little bit. It was a surprise hit 2 years ago, and it's been going strong ever since. So, like I said, I like weird shows that are just kind of, you know, off the beaten path kind of thing. Alright, so this is going to bring me down to Once Upon a Time, which was focused on Captain Hook, who I'm still not a huge fan of. I'm sorry to all you Hook fangirls out there, but I'm still not sold on him yet. And maybe it's because I'm just not into these charming rogues anymore, you know? These kind of guys that they bring them on there as bad guys initially, and all of a sudden everybody's in love with them. So they gotta redeem them and make them good characters. I found Hook much more interesting when he was a villain. Much more intriguing when he was a villain. Now he's like, you know, turning into good guy. You know, one of the heroes, and, you know, because of the demand by the audience, because they love this guy, because he is a good-looking guy, I have to admit that. But he doesn't do much for me, personally. I'm not as interested in him as I am in others. Of course, everyone's talking about the kiss between him and Emma, which made me kind of mad, because I'm not a Captain Swan shipper. I like Neil. I want Emma with Neil. Because Emma and Neil and Henry, they're a family, and I want them back together. And I'm not into this nice guys finish last kind of thing, because Neil's a good guy, and I feel like this is going to happen all over again to him. Because Hook, remember, won over Rumple's wife from him, Mila, Neil's mother, Balefire, as he's called in Fairy Tale Land. And basically stole her away. You could say Rumple threw her away, but another argument for another day. And now he's into Emma, who is Neil's love of his life, soulmate, whatever you want to call it. And I don't like this. I like Neil. Neil's good. I've mentioned this before in a couple of my posts and tweets that I don't like Hook partly because of this, because of Neil, because he's encroaching on that particular. And just because, like I said, I don't care for the things that he's done in the past. And I think that he still has a lot more redemption. And I just don't, the kiss just seemed to come out of nowhere. Like, Emma never showed any real sign of really being romantically interested in Hook before this episode. And it's like they're trying to please these Captain Swan shippers, and I am just not into this. So, I complain. A minor one. The episode was pretty good. It gave us some backstory, which is pretty good. And it showed us that Pan's really manipulative qualities and the way that he can manipulate people's weaknesses and things like that. And he gave Hook a surprising revelation that Neil is still alive. And he said that you'll get to see what kind of man you really are if you decide whether or not to tell her this, because you're into Emma. You want to be with Emma. You like Emma. And the love of Emma's life is still alive. And it's a quandary for a guy with a sort of morally loose like Hook was. He didn't used to be morally loose, I guess, but he is now. And the Han Solo of the show, I guess. And I loved Han Solo when I was younger, but I grew up. Okay? I grew up. I still love Han Solo, but I grew up. Leaving it at that. I think that my opinion of Hook will be decided by how soon he decides to tell Emma this. You know, is he going to do it right away? Is he going to pull the Sawyer in Outlaws and just kind of hold the information back for a little while? That's the quandary that he's in, I guess. And I think I would like him more if I felt that he was going to tell Emma right away about this. But I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to hold on to this information a little longer and not tell her. And that's going to cause problems. Thank you. So, that's my thing with Once Upon a Time. Next week's episode is going to have Ariel, the Little Mermaid! Yes! The Little Mermaid! Alright, that's going to be cool. Okay, and I'm waiting for this, and I betcha... I don't know who's in the crate next to Neil, but I don't know. What if it has to do with the next episode? Maybe it's Ariel. Who knows? Could be. For all I know. Anyway, the last one that I'm going to mention today is The Walking Dead. We had a major reveal at the end of Walking Dead. Very interesting. Because I remember when I did my all-out review from last week about The Walking Dead, it left us with a mystery at the end, and that mystery was solved at the end of this episode. But it's not exactly the way we thought it was going to be. Basically, the outbreak in the prison is getting worse. The swine flu is getting to the point where they have to go out and get more antibiotics. More people are dropping dead from this and turning into walkers, and it's just not cool. So they have to isolate certain people, put them in certain places, put the kids in a certain area, keep the old in certain areas too. And Glenn's sick. This is not good. I love Glenn. And Daryl's been exposed and all this stuff. They've all been exposed. None of them are showing symptoms yet. But they're going to organize this trip to go out to raid a veterinary hospital, about 50 miles away from the prison. So this is kind of dangerous. And this is where it gets interesting. Tyrese is flipping out over his death of his girlfriend, Karen. That was her name. I apologize for not knowing it last week. David and Karen were the two people that died. It sucks. And Tyrese is flipping out about this and wants Rick to find out who did it. And Rick, being the cop, the cop, can't ignore this. So he investigates while Daryl has shown Tyrese. And this other guy whose name I can't quite recall. Like I said, I'm bad with names these days. And they get in the car to go to leave together after this whole thing. And Rick finds out who the culprit was in this whole thing, in the murders that were occurred, and it's a shocker. It's a big one. It's not what we expect, and I don't want to reveal it in case there's people here who are watching that haven't seen it. Let's just say that our opinion of the person that did it has changed. We were like Daryl and Tyrese, who wanted this guy dead. This person dead. And once we get to the end, we have a different opinion of it. Because a different person than we thought it was. It's not who we think it is. There's all kind of neat things going on in this episode, but like I said, I can't reveal these things because, some of them are spoilers. And if anybody hasn't watched them, I don't want to reveal it until you have. But, like I said, it's pretty interesting what happens at the end. And who the person turns out to be. I will discuss it in a little more detail next week and the impact it has on the group. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. It's pretty weird. But this show is getting better in a lot of places. There's people that criticize it a lot for not having enough zombie action. Like, there's not enough killing. Like, you didn't kill enough zombies this week, so therefore it's kind of boring. There's too much talking. There's too much, drama going on and not enough zombie splatter. And this is a criticism I've heard since the second season, when they say that there's not enough going on, and there's not enough going on in that sense. And I want to tell the people, if you want that, play a video game. This is a character drama. It's got characters in it. If you don't care about these people at all, then all it's going to be is zombies getting killed all the time. But we care about Daryl. We care about Carol. We care about Rick. We care about Glenn and Maggie and Herschel and all these people. We care about them because of the drama that goes on in their lives. That's why I like this show. It's not just because of the zombies. I can deal with the zombie splatter. That stuff is peripheral to me. It's the people. It's the humanity of it. It's the fact that it looks like it's really happening, even though it's not actually. Its colors are very stark. It's very, it looks like a very real show, even though it's not. So, like I said, I like the chatter. I like the talking. I like the drama, the quiet moments. Sometimes I prefer the quiet moments to the crazy stuff, because that's when you learn about people. That's when you learn who people are, when they're interacting with each other. So, it was good. It had the fallout from the week before, which was ridiculous, and it gave us some more insight into particular characters, including the motivations of the person who killed David and Karen, which, like I said, complicate matters, because it's not quite as black and white as we think. A lot of things aren't as black and white as we think they are. Once Upon a Time is proving that. Walking Dead is proving that. In bushels. But, okay. That was it. That is all my shows, and I hope I did them as quickly as I possibly could, because it is still stretching out a little longer, and it's always going to be a little longer with me, because once I start talking, I just keep going and going and going and going. It's something that I got from my mother. She can't shut up, so, and I'm getting that too, so I'm going to be like that. Anyway, I had a few more things to add to this on top of the TV reviews. My Bruins have started out the season 7-3. They had a setback against the New Jersey Devils. They gave out 4 power play goals, which is not a good thing. Penalty kill needs a little work. It used to be a pride, now it's becoming a weakness. Things are going to happen change on that. Before that, they'd won like 4 in a row. One of those wins last Wednesday on Wednesday Night Rivalry came with a cost. They lost a forward, Louis Erickson, who received a concussion on a vicious blindside hit from their Sabres resident goon, John Scott. Louis is out indefinitely. Probably won't play for a while. He went to the arena today, but he's nowhere near skating. And John Scott is currently suspended indefinitely pending his hearing. He's hoping that he gets a lot for it. But anyway, they started out 7-3. They're doing well. It's better than they started out last year and the year before after they won the Cup. Considering we went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, I'd say they're doing all right. And the Red Sox won Game 5. It is now 3-2 Red Sox going back to Austin, baby! So, who knows? What could happen? We could have another parade. This sounds awesome to me. Game 6 is Wednesday. Game 7, if necessary, is Thursday, and they are both in Boston. We are thrilled, tickled pink. Anyway, that's it for my webcam of the week. I am tired, it's late. I try to do this after I've seen all my shows, and I want to do it before the new ones start up tomorrow with another NCIS. It's a Halloween episode. I just wanted to touch on the NCIS because the whole thing with Tony was good, and I might delve a little deeper into that down the line when my shows are on hiatus and I've got a little more time to talk. But that's basically all I want to say today. Other than Happy Halloween and let's go Sox. See you all later. Thank you. Bye.